A girl named Tanya was thrilled when a private plane greeted her. It was organized by her beloved Peter. Tanya had no idea that Peter's personal assistant would attack her from behind. Next, we see a girl named Carly Bragg spending time with her family. They live near an elite neighborhood where a wealthy man recently acquired a luxurious house. Sarah, Carly's mother, who is an interior designer, plans to get a contract to do renovations in his house. Later, the mother and daughter met Amanda James, an old acquaintance of Sarah's. Amanda hinted that her son Billy and Carly would make a great couple, but Carly objected, saying she already had a boyfriend. It turned out that Amanda outmaneuvered Sarah and secured the contract first. Now she will be doing the renovations in that house. However, later, Sarah found out that Amanda hadn't actually signed the contract, she had just lied to them. The mother and daughter immediately went to Kyle Smithford's house. Carly wants to follow in her mother's footsteps and pursue interior design. Mr. Smithford, an elderly handsome man, welcomed them and showed them his luxurious house, offering a drink. Sarah shared a lot of her interior design ideas. Mr. Smithford was impressed and agreed to sign a contract. When Sarah left to take some pictures outside, Kyle showered Carly with compliments and invited her to a restaurant. The girl was confused and didn't have a chance to respond because her mother returned. Before they left, Kyle gave Carly his card. Amanda is seething with envy. That evening, Carly met with her best friend Melanie and shared that their 50-year-old client had flirted with her. Melanie thinks Carly should have a bit of fun, but Carly hesitates because she already has a boyfriend. That same night, someone broke into the Braggs' house. When Carly returned, she didn't notice any intruders. Suddenly the intruder attacked her. The sounds woke her parents. The intruder stole Carly's personalized pendant and escaped. Soon the police arrived. Carly still can't recover from what happened. What she feels most sorry for is that the culprit stole the pendant given to her by Ben. The next day, Sarah went to Mr. Smithford's house, who was disappointed that Carly was currently busy. Meanwhile, someone is watching Carly, who went to Melanie's place. Later, Carly met with Ben and told him about their client inviting her on a date. Ben didn't like it and accused Carly of flirting with everyone. When Ben suggested a breakup, Carly couldn't hold back her tears. It was the end of their relationship. Carly went to the cafe where Melanie works as a waitress. Melanie encouraged the friend, saying that Ben wasn't worthy of her. In the same cafe, Mr. Smithford and his wealthy friend arrived. Despite the significant age difference, Carly decided to approach Kyle. Soon Melanie joined them and began flirting with Brett Candy. Later, Kyle offered Carly a ride, but she said she would stay at the friend's place. Melanie teased Carly, who was clearly embarrassed by the admirer's age. Near the bar, Laura, one of the waitresses, was hit by a car. The driver fled the scene. Carly is convinced it's the same person who stole her pendant. Perhaps someone is stalking her. The next day, the mother and daughter went to Kyle's house and started working. All day long, Kyle stayed close to Carly, admiring her design skills. The girl clearly enjoys his attention, but her mother constantly interrupts them. Later, Kyle offered Carly to have dinner again, but the girl is still hesitant. In the evening, Carly discussed it with her friend. Melanie advised her to do what she wants. Carly received a gift from Kyle, lying to her mother that it was from Ben. The girl texted Kyle, thanking him and agreeing to dinner. Telling the mother that she was going to meet Melanie, Carly arrived at the restaurant. Kyle was already waiting for her at the table. It was a truly beautiful place with delicious food. Kyle showered Carly with compliments and presented her with another gift. Carly felt embarrassed and went to the restroom to put on her new luxurious dress. After dinner, Carly thanked Kyle for the evening but said she wasn't ready for something more. Kyle seemed understanding and took her to Melanie's place. Before Carly got out of the car, Kyle said that he wouldn't mind a kiss. Carly didn't object. Meanwhile, Melanie went to Brent, Kyle's wealthy friend. After thanking her admirer again for the evening, Carly left the car, but Melanie wasn't at her home. At that moment, Carly received a call from Kyle and finally agreed to go to him. Passion ignited between them. When Carly woke up the next morning, Kyle had prepared a delicious breakfast for her. He suggested having breakfast in the backyard, but Carly was worried her mother would see them. Soon Sarah noticed the change in her daughter, but she only brushed it off. During the day, the mother and daughter worked on interior design again. At one point, Sarah almost noticed Carly's shoes in Kyle's bedroom, but he hid it in time. Throughout the day, Kyle and Carly exchanged glances. At home, the girl studied, constantly receiving messages from Kyle and calls from Ben. Carly and Kyle continue to meet in secret. Kyle clearly dislikes that Carly's ex-boyfriend keeps calling her. In college, Carly finally answered Ben's call. He suggested meeting today. Carly agreed to clarify things. Carly arrived at the meeting place, while Ben was unaware that someone was following him. Suddenly the intruder knocked him out and stole his phone, starting to text Carly on behalf of Ben. Carly received a message in which her ex-boyfriend said he couldn't meet. In a fit of resentment, Carly texted Kyle and suggested that they see each other. Kyle took her shopping. The girl was very pleased, receiving expensive gifts. But she had no idea that Amanda noticed them and took a photo. Carly returned late. The worried mother said that Ben had been attacked today and was still unconscious in the hospital. Carly is very frightened, but the worst is yet to come. Her mother received a message from Amanda with the photo. Of course, Sarah was in shock and demanded an explanation from the daughter. Carly told her mother that she was no longer a child and could do whatever she wanted. Of course, Sarah intends to quit working for Kyle. The mother and daughter had a falling out. That evening, Carly messaged Kyle that they can't see each other anymore and later met with Melanie. Carly confessed that she can't stop thinking about Kyle and misses him. Melanie in turn admitted that she's dating Brent, who claims that Kyle is suffering after the breakup with Carly. The girl doesn't know what to do now. Since Laura recently had an accident, the waitress position became available and the manager offered Carly a job. Late in the evening, Kyle sent a car for his beloved, with a bouquet of flowers inside. Carly was deeply touched by such attention. Their relationship continued. Suddenly there was a knock at the door. It was Amanda, who will now be handling interior design instead of Sarah. Her son Billy was also here. In the evening, Carly tearfully told the mother that Kyle genuinely loves her. Of course, Sarah doesn't believe it. The parents decided that their daughter should move out and live independently. Carly now lives with Melanie and works at the same cafe as a waitress. Sarah is very worried, constantly thinking about how to prevent her daughter's relationship with an older man. Kyle, Carly, Melanie and Brent raised a toast to new friends. Carly no longer wanted to hide her relationship with Kyle. Sarah watched them and couldn't contain her emotions. Nobody noticed as a woman with a gun entered the Smith Ford house. She claimed she had come for her daughter Tanya. The woman asserted that Brent's real name was Peter Coleman, and he was the one who took her Tanya. Brent denied it. Seizing the moment, Kyle attacked the woman. She accidentally fired a shot, wounding herself. The police arrived. Kyle was not charged with any crime as it was self-defense. Melanie was getting ready to go home. When Brent offered to give her a ride, she declined. Carly saw her friend off. Melanie shared her concerns about Brent. Perhaps he wasn't who he claimed to be. Carly thought these concerns were unfounded, but Melanie still intended to break up with Brent. Carly received a call from the worried mother, who tried to convince her to come back. However, Carly had no intention of returning. Sarah felt like she was losing her daughter because of this man. When it was all over, Kyle said he had known Brent for over 30 years, so Carly had nothing to worry about. But the conversation with Melanie planted doubts in Carly's mind. Sarah read an article on the internet about Tanya's disappearance and today's incident. The police still couldn't confirm whether Brent Cundy and a certain Peter Coleman were the same person. In the morning, Carly was going to college and then to work. Kyle tried to persuade her to stay at home and relax, but the girl left anyway. Today, the manager discovered that someone had stolen all the money from the safe. Carly's personalized pendant lay on the floor. Carly was fired, and Melanie too, because it was she who recommended her to the manager. The girls had a falling out. Melanie believed that after meeting Kyle and Brent, bad things started happening, but Carly didn't want to see the truth. As usual, Kyle sent a car for Carly. She said she couldn't stay at Melanie's place and couldn't go home. Kyle gladly welcomed her into his home. Melanie heard a knock at the door, thinking it was a food delivery. But at the door was Brent, who entered without an invitation. Melanie tried to usher him out, but Brent had no intention of leaving just like that. They were interrupted by the food delivery guy. Brent was about to leave, hinting that they would see each other again soon. Carly enjoys living in Kyle's luxurious home. She wishes the beloved could spend more time with her, but Kyle manages his own business, so he doesn't have weekends. Sarah really wants to call the daughter, but pride won't let her. Michael, on the other hand, thinks there's no reason to worry because Kyle treats Carly like a princess. Sarah finally called her daughter. Seeing this, Kyle dismissed the call. Carly has no idea that Kyle is constantly monitoring her through surveillance cameras. She stayed alone in the house. Kyle was delayed, despite promising to come earlier. After receiving a call from Melanie, Carly was overjoyed. The girls decided to reconcile. Melanie confessed that Brent was bothering her. Carly interrupted the conversation because Kyle had returned. However, he continued talking on the phone with a business partner, paying no attention to her. This brought tears to Carly's eyes. Later, Kyle explained that if he didn't work so much, he wouldn't have the money he does. When Carly received a message from her father, Kyle snatched her phone, promising they would have lunch together tomorrow. But Kyle didn't keep his promise, texting that it would be too late today. Carly was deeply disappointed in her new beautiful life. Learning that Ben woke up in the hospital, Carly immediately called him, but Kyle, who had just returned, snatched her phone and began accusing her of ingratitude. Carly begged him not to kick her out and promised it wouldn't happen again. After calming down, Kyle apologized and said that jealousy had clouded his judgment. Sarah couldn't sleep or eat because the daughter wasn't answering her calls. The friend advised her to call once more. This time Carly answered, but as soon as Kyle entered the room, she immediately hung up. Then Sarah decided to call Kyle. He claimed that Carly didn't want to talk to her. Carly heard this, but didn't say anything. Sarah was determined to get her daughter back. Of course, Michael couldn't let his wife go alone. Sarah desperately knocked on Kyle's door. He called the police, saying that a crazy woman was trying to break into his house. And again, Carly didn't say a word against it. The police arrived a few minutes later. An officer asked Carly, who was standing on the balcony, if she was being held here against her will. Carly said no. But Sarah didn't believe it. The officer agreed not to arrest Sarah on the condition that she back off. To cheer up Carly, Kyle gave her another gift. However, Carly was no longer happy with his attention. Calling Melanie, Sarah asked her to tell the whole truth. But Melanie didn't know the full picture and advised the woman to talk to Brent. Determined, Sarah went to the address provided by Melanie, but Brent was not in the apartment. When Kyle wasn't at home, Carly called the mother and asked her to accept the fact that she was no longer a child. Carly loves Kyle and doesn't want to stay with a mother who sees her as a little girl. A scream came from downstairs. Someone had broken into the Braggs' house again and attacked Joni, the family's friend. Sarah suspects that Amanda and her son were behind it all, wanting to steal the design. But Amanda denied it, demanding an explanation from Billy. Billy admitted that a wealthy friend of Mr. Smithford paid him to attack Ben and steal Carly's necklace to frame her. Kyle offered Carly to go on vacation together. She gladly agreed. Meanwhile, Brent sent Melanie a message from Carly's phone, suggesting they vacation together and meet at the airport. Kyle told his lover that his driver would take her to the city, and he would catch up with them later. Carly believed that her life would now be like a fairy tale. Sarah immediately called the police, telling them everything she had learned from Billy. When she spoke to Melanie, Sarah learned that the girls were going to meet at the airport and go on vacation. Getting into a cab, Melanie had no idea she was walking into a trap. Meanwhile, Brent entered her home and stole the girls' documents. Now he and Kyle had everything they needed. Carly realized the driver was going in the wrong direction and called her mother. But the driver didn't allow her to talk for long. At the destination, Brent met Carly and made her get on the plane. Melanie was already here. It turned out that the men were involved in illegal business, finding beautiful girls. Of course, this man is neither Brent nor Peter. Meanwhile, Carly's parents arrived at the airport and, threatening the driver, made him reveal their daughter's location. Kyle boarded the plane. Together the men started making fun of the girls. Soon, according to their plan, Carly and Melanie would end up in Tunisia. Suddenly, Carly's parents burst onto the plane in the car. A few minutes later, the police arrived. The girls were rescued. Brent was hospitalized with an injury, and Kyle was arrested. Carly couldn't believe that she had once genuinely loved this man. Soon Carly's life was back to normal. Now her main goal is to help girls in trouble.